ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Eddie.
He's Whisker.
And who do we have this week?
This week we have Michael Dougherty from, I guess, Baltimore, Maryland. Woohoo, Maryland. And he is a writer slash director slash producer slash co-founder of Big Damn Films. Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing okay, hanging out. So this is pretty cool because this is the first time we've gotten a writer slash director slash producer slash like film founder person on ZombieTech.
We have talked to people in the industry before, but they're usually more less out front, more in the trenches kinds of people.
Correct.
But,
well, I'm honored to be the first.
And it also sounds like you're one of the people doing this fascinating new idea in filmmaking, which is using the new models like Kickstarter to fund the project.
Yeah, definitely. Wanted to try something a little bit different. I mean, our last film, Broncos Redemption, we pretty much did by pulling anything out of our bank account we could. Like Kevin Smith, we used credit cards and everything at our disposal. And this time we wanted to try to be a little bit more upfront. And Kickstarter, for me, provided the most transparency for what we could do.
Sure.
I think that Kickstarter is a much more sane way of approaching funding a project than the Kevin Smith style of taking out every single credit card that they'll possibly give it you and then maxing them out and then borrow, beg, and steal everything else until you can actually afford to make your first film. It's putting yourself in a risky position to do that, whereas Kickstarter, as long as everybody decides that you're going to make the movie, you're going to make the movie.
Well, I mean, it's yes and no. They both have their trade-offs because whereas that you have all the credit cards at your disposal and you can max them out, you kind of know that you have that money. Kickstarter is the opposite, where if you don't make your goal by the end of the time that you allotted, you get nothing. So whereas like you may be stressed out for 30 days trying to pull all your credit cards together and know you're putting yourself in potential debt, you at least know at the end how much money you have. With Kickstarter, even if we get to like 98% of what we're trying to accomplish, and all the people that back it, if we don't hit that full 100%, we get nothing. So it's like 30 days of the most insane amount of stress. I'm only like 5 days in, and I'm already kind of freaked out.
So then, does that mean that say you hit 100%?
Now that's 5 days when we recorded it.
Yes,
when this goes up to be aired.
Right.
Let's probably do a mark. To like 5 days left.
Let's do a mark.
Yes.
As of today, there are 121 backers, $20,000, $20,264.
We haven't talked about what the latest project is yet, so maybe we should back up.
But I wanted to back up because I wanted to actually know how you got involved with Big Damn Films and how you became a writer, producer, director /
So back in 2008, I'm sitting at Starbucks as one of those guys that teleworked on Fridays. So I went to my local Starbucks, just kind of hung out, and you kind of get to know everybody. And one of the guys there was like, "Have you ever thought of making a Firefly fan film?" And I'd never made a movie, never written a script, never like the most I did is the friends who are starting their little local movies that never get anywhere. It was like, "Would you hold a boom mic?" I'm like, "Sure." And that's probably up until that point the closest I got to making a movie.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then, complete ignorance of the system allowed me to go through and, I called 20th Century Fox and was like, can we get permission? They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then next thing I know, we're making a movie.
Right.
A feature length using the internet. I found on eHow how to put a production schedule together because some second AD was on there and made a video on how to do it, and read everything I could on writing scripts.
So that was, wow, that's like from complete scratch.
As complete scratch, like 0 to a film in a year.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Oh.
But that made me writer, director, producer, co-founder of the company, and here we are today.
Yeah. Now, what exactly, as you've discovered, is the writer slash director role as opposed to, say, the producer role for those of us who are happy enough to be ignorant of what those titles mean?
So the producer can be anybody that comes in and just says, you know what, I want to see my name in the credits of a movie, so I'll give you a couple $1,000s to help you out.
Ah,
To somebody that is really the person that's going out and helping you get the equipment and really just producing the items that you need to make the creative piece. The writer is generally the guy that makes the script, and once the script is done, unless there's like little tweaks along the way to help out, his job is done once the script is approved.
mm-hmm.
Then the director is really the guy that carries it from the writer to the end, and they're the person that, with a producer's assistance, goes and gets the crew together, gets the equipment, films on the day, works on the production schedule. So I'm wearing all the hats throughout the course of a production that most people would maybe wear one, maximum of two of,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're in a complete indie movie where you're just like picking up your camera and running it.
Right. So then, does your writer self ever have to tell your director self to calm down, or vice versa?
Stop spending money.
Exactly. It's like, and then the writer self also has to go to the producer self and it's going, stop cheapening my film. Stop, put more money into it, asshole.
So you've had to deal with that too.
There's so many conversations going on in my head right now that my wife's like, you should have therapy.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I have to do the same sort of roles around here, producing all these shows and then being the talent on some of them, and actually like having to make sure that all the equipment is paid for. And they're very much at odds with one another at times. It's like, I want the quality to be better, but my boss won't let me buy better equipment because he says we don't have the money.
Damn boss. So, since we are ZombieTech, and since people still might not have an idea of why we brought you on, can you tell us a little bit about the movie that you're looking to make with the Kickstarter funds?
Yeah, so the movie is called ZCon, and it's essentially, in the Hollywood logline speak, it's Goonies meets Shaun of the Dead set in a comic book convention. Because of Brown Coat's Redemption from like 2009 to 2011, I traveled back and forth across the U.S. from everywhere to like Granite State Comic Con in Massachusetts and New Hampshire to San Diego Comic Con in San Diego, and back and forth. And I got to see so many different things, and then questions started to pop into my head, like, how long would it take in a convention, even as small as like Philly Wizard World, to realize that there is an actual zombie inside? Like,
right.
It would take hours, unless something like drastic started happening, like, I don't know, two homeless guys having one eat the other guy's face off. It would take hours because there's people walking around as zombies, and you'd probably get yourself photoed with a zombie. It would take so long. And then I've gotten sick so many times from having con crud. And for those people that don't,
con what?
Con crud. It's what happens when 2,000 people touch the same doorknob over the course of the weekend. One of those people are dumbasses, have the flu, and don't know how to wash their hands.
It's like Contagion.
Exactly. So Contagion is the perfect example of con crud. But what if con crud made you a zombie? Like, what if you had the flu, and that plus touching this weird substance counter-reacted into your body and produced zombie-like state?
So wait a minute. The zombies that you guys are looking to make aren't just your typical bite and then you'll get infected. It's actually more insidious. It's like touch and you'll get infected.
It's like touch, or like have somebody sneeze on you, or
it's
because
an aerial form too.
It's the worst kind.
Oh my gosh.
It's nasty. And the interesting thing is just, I actually worked with a virologist to figure out how to make this happen. So I wanted the science to be right because I'm that big of a nerd.
Right.
And we're like 98%, and I'm like, you know what, the way that the body works, this is just so much sci-fi, it'll probably never come to real life. And then I read the description of the guy that took bath salts and the way his body was reacting when he was at the face eating part. I'm like, that's exactly what I wrote. Fuck. So, but ZCon itself is really about these 4 kids who have their podcast, and they go to this convention to try to get interviews with the famous people, thinking it'll turn their podcast into the next big thing. And next thing you know, that these 4 teenagers are now the man on the street reporters of what's going on inside this quarantined building while the zombie outbreak's happening.
So so are they like streaming from the pod or streaming from the convention, like
streaming, tweeting, whatever they can do to get the word out. So there's actually a part in the movie where they have to run around past all the zombies to the different wireless ports just before they fall down. So I mean, I'm a huge fan of the old, like, Monster Squad and Goonies when the kids were actually the focal point and they were having to come up with cool and clever and creative ideas rather than just whack people on the head.
Right.
And I wanted to bring that back into a zombie film a little bit.
I approve. Now, I'm wondering. So then, okay. So I just wanted to focus on the logistics first here, but
Please do.
So the Kickstarter, you guys are aiming for, what is it, $250,000? Right?
Exactly.
And what will these Kickstarter funds actually fund?
The Kickstarter funds, 5% will have to go back to Amazon and Kickstarter. That's kind of their rules.
Okay.
About another 10 to 15,000 will pay for all the things that we promise in the rewards. Like, just to give you an idea, when we did Browncoat's Redemption, it cost about $6,000 to make 2,000 DVDs.
Wow. Okay.
So when, let's say, if we hit Amanda Palmer type numbers and we had, 24,000 backers, each person's going to have to get a DVD, and you times $2 times each of those person.
Right.
So then there's T-shirts and all that other fun stuff.
Right.
So 15 to 20,000 is really just paying for that, and then the rest of it is paying for equipment, paying for staff, paying for actors, paying for setting up a convention within a warehouse. I mean, we got really lucky that St. John's Properties, who helped us out on the first film, willing to donate a 45,000 square foot warehouse for 4 months just to set up this fake convention and then tear it all down.
Nice.
Because Big Damn Films is a nonprofit organization, a lot of the stuff like that can get donated, but it's the stuff that can't be donated, like camera equipment and 2 or 20 days of an actor's time, because an actor needs to get paid.
Right.
So what we did is really looked at the bare minimum of what we had to pay for, and that's what we're asking for in the Kickstarter program.
Okay. And what's the most expensive portion at this point?
A combination between the actor's time and how much it's going to cost to set up the booths within the convention, because it's you're looking anywhere from a $20 to $40 folding table, and then you multiply that times,
a whole lot.
Exactly. And what's going to be really cool is we're going to invite people to come in, and if you have like a product that you want to hawk or something like that, set yourself up in a booth. Like, we're going to have some fake booths, but it'd be really cool to do some advertising that way.
Well, you could kind of do almost a real con, but let everybody know that they're going to be in a movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean,
Flash Con.
If you look at it, something like Wizard World, the convention alone, not counting when you start booking celebrities, costs about $80,000.
Jeez. Wow.
And what we're making for $250,000, Shaun of the Dead was a $4 million zombie movie.
Right.
So we're not, reaching for the stars. We're just trying to do what we can.
Right. So for anybody thinking that $250,000 is anywhere close to an actually good budget, what's the word?
Let's put it this way. There's probably close to $20,000 worth of equipment in our little podcasting studio here. You can't touch a movie for $20,000. So the fact that they're able to pull it off at all is absolutely great.
Right. Which is very cool. And of course, why zombies as opposed to, say, the sexy vampires or werewolves or?
I'm really kind of over zombies or not zombies, but
vampires.
And vampires. Yeah, like Twilight just destroyed that for me. I want my creatures to be scary. I don't want to have sexy vampires and sexy werewolves, because like, you look at the kid that turns into the werewolf, and I know that there's girls that are going, just stay human. You're prettier that way.
It's okay if they're a little sexy, like, Lestat vampire sexy. I think that's okay, because he'll still kill you.
But he was scary sexy.
Yeah.
It's that kind of sexy that like, just behind that smirk is the guy that's going to rip your face off.
Yeah. That's okay.
But that to me is cool. But not
sparkling in the sunshine sexy? Yeah. No, not so much.
Yeah, that's just
awkward.
No.
And you can't really make zombies sexy either.
No, we've got some sexy zombies.
What?
Well, I mean, think about it. You go to a convention and you have cosplay.
Right. This is
So-
yes. I'm
So-
interested in these cosplayers
I'd like to
turn
see
zombies.
A Chobits cosplayer turn into a zombie. That would be good.
Well, it's part of our promotional campaign. We did like a whole bunch of different zombies. So we've got like sexy Velma zombie, and we've got like hot girl that went with the girlfriend of the celebrity zombie. And we start thinking about it. You could do a lot of sexy zombie in this kind of environment, like sexy Chobit. You got, sexy, and it's insane. And then you have like the sexy nurse that's running around. That's a zombie.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Big ass needle in one hand.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's scalp in the other. What? So then, why podcasts as opposed? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how else you would send information, but like as opposed to just say a regular Joe Schmo.
Well, I figured like this. We're getting into the age where you know it and I know it. If we wanted to do like a video podcast or an audio podcast 10, 15 years ago, it would even be far more challenging. But like somebody could go out to Best Buy today, grab all the equipment they need for anywhere to like $1,000 to $20,000, depending on how good you want it to be, and start putting out information. And these kids come in and they just want to do something cool. Like they listen to podcasts, they want to make podcasts, and they went in, and I figured it's the best way to share information because they could stream it on YouTube. They could put it out on Twitter. Like when you start breaking down all the different ways information can get out and you start looking at the ways that it's gotten out in the past through actual events, like the what was it, the earthquake, when people started tweeting about it, and the tsunami and people started tweeting about it, how fast that information got out.
Right.
And it could just get out with as simple as a cell phone.
Right.
But just as a podcast, it was just a cool hook for these kids to kind of have a way to tell their story all the way through instead of hopping around to different people.
Sure. Now, the interesting thing, though, is also, like, you know how when the Miami zombie thing, like, all happened, and then, I don't know, like 2 days after or like a day after, there's rumors of a virus having been the reason to cause this. Did you see that by any chance?
I did not see this.
Okay, so this is the this is how viral or how quickly news can travel here. So
and also how quickly misinformation can spread
that's
as
exactly
well.
that's exactly what it was, because so this group called 4chan, I'm sure you know it as
Not a
Doom
group, it's just a website.
They, I don't know, but they, I guess, photoshopped or made this quote screenshot of a newspaper website that said virus found to be the reason for Miami zombie, and it was calling it like LQP10 or something like that. And it was, I guess it's an actual bacteria or an actual virus that exists, but of course the real one doesn't cause
to chew somebody's face off.
Right, exactly. But the screenshot was reblogged over the entire internet, and so people are like, "Oh my gosh, the zombie virus is upon us!" And in the article it said things like, you could read things like, "Oh, it's highly contagious. Those who are known to have it are already quarantined. If you notice anything like this, please contact officials." Blah blah blah. And so I think it's interesting that like, how are you making it so that, or are you worried?
Something that P.T. Barnum would do.
Why? P.T., what do you mean?
It just seems like something he would do, if this were, back in his day,
Just
publicity stunts like that.
Yeah.
It's great. So I think it's a very sound premise for a zombie flick because, man, cons are not the most, people who go there aren't necessarily the best with hygiene to begin with. So,
But then, all right, I have a
lot
question.
Of sneezing into your hand and not washing it going on.
Right. But then I have a question. So,
Go for it.
Con people, sci-fi, especially at a sci-fi
You
con.
don't have to talk about them like they're carnies or something.
No, I'm just,
Con people.
I'm just saying.
I resemble that remark.
I am just saying, so they, I'm sure they watch zombie movies more than your average person.
Probably. Yeah.
Right? So so on the one hand, you have the fact that it's crowded, there's grossness sometimes there's con crud. But on the other hand, con people are also more educated about zombies than, say, your normal person, right?
I would like to point out the LQP79 virus conversation we just had as far as levels of intelligence.
True, but see, that's the thing. I don't know if there was like a percentage of people who were educated versus not educated about zombies who like spread that rumor.
Well, it's funny because I just did a search while we were talking, and the most people talking about it are the zombie wiki. And so I would think that within a convention, while intelligence is there, and there's a lot of intelligent people, there's some amazingly creative people. There's a lot of people who would just buy into that, like, it's not really a zombie, let me go check it out.
Oh, and then they get eaten.
And then they're the lambs to the slaughter.
I see.
While
So
the rest of us are running the other way.
I see. So it's like more like curiosity. They'd be more curious than they would be to be afraid.
Oh, I mean, think about it. We do this on our own as we drive home from traffic. If you're like driving down the highway, why people slow down to look at an accident on the side of the road?
True.
Instead of either pulling over to help or just continuing on.
True.
It's that nature of ourselves to stop and want to check it out. And then the viral nature of social media to want to be the guy that does the first pick of it.
That's a very good point. Huh. Then we're screwed.
I'm sorry.
No. I mean, then we're screwed because then the con people who are supposed to be the most educated will be the first ones to be eaten. And then nobody knows. That's true. Not all of them. We still have our 4 heroes.
We've got our 4 unwilling heroes who are going to not be like, I know that there's like stuff out there right now, like Night of the Living Trekkies. And then there's a comic book series called Fanboys vs. Zombies. And the premises are the same. Like Night of the Living Trekkies is a book about a zombie outbreak at essentially like the Galaxy Quest convention, where it's all focused around Star Trek.
Wow.
And
you're in the wrong con, man.
I know, but I'm hearing about the comic from other people and the book from other people, and these guys are somehow finding like automatic weapons at a convention.
Naturally.
And I'm like, that doesn't happen in real life. Like somebody might have a really cool looking Nerf gun,
right?
But I think the Nerf gun's going to take out a zombie.
There's a lot of like swords and stuff at Gen Con, for example, but the staff always zip ties your sword to your sheath, so you can't actually get your sword out to kill any zombies, let alone shoot them with an automatic weapon.
But I mean, I think in an actual like zombie like outbreak, you'd pretty easily cut that zip tie, don't you think?
Right. I'm just saying that for safety, the staff at cons would actually be part of the problem if there were zombies, because the things that they do to try to avoid accidents would actually cause problems. Things like zip tying your weapons closed.
Oh man, I have so many ideas for your movie.
I want to hear them.
Well, I mean, just that. Like, you have to have somebody at the front zip tying all of the weapons, and then somebody's got to try to get their like sword out, because they're like prepared and realize the fucking thing is zip tied and then gets eaten.
Or when you go to buy, like, they have those big weapon booths at a convention, they have all the replica swords, come to find out that there's like crap.
Right.
And they don't work.
Like they break.
You try to use one and it bends or something.
Yeah.
Freaking foam.
Damn you, Silver.
And everyone who's ever been to a convention knows exactly what we're talking about with these booths.
Yeah.
And people who haven't are probably going, these people are weird.
I've never been to a con.
No.
But
okay, you have to go to a convention. My wife is not a geek in any way, shape, or form. She only started going to conventions to help me go promote Browncoat's Redemption, because otherwise she would never see me on weekends.
Sure.
And she started to go, and she's like, this is kind of cool. Like, just costume watching alone and people watching started to be fun. And then she realized that there's panels on costuming, so she wanted to go to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's panels about everything at conventions. So if you're interested in anything, like from what you guys do with podcasts to costuming or filmmaking or just hearing your favorite star babble on about stuff they did 20 years ago, conventions are a really cool place outside of like the nice little hub of community of people that go to these things,
And outside of the zombies that happen to
Yeah,
and
too,
outside of the
yeah.
get
zombies.
started. Right. So then,
Exactly.
so question,
Yeah.
how much as a writer, how much backstory do you have to know on each person? Like, you may not show it in the movie necessarily, you may allude to it, but how much backstory do you need on each of your characters before you can make a relatively fleshed out universe?
I try to give like each character their own, just as if you and I were talking right about now, at least like a half hour to an hour focused on that one character.
Okay.
Like, what would really attract them to doing what they're doing? Why would they be there? How would they behave? Like, and you really start creating this other person in your head. And then you pull pieces of people that you knew or things that you've seen and or parts of yourself that you'd really like to focus on. Like the kid that's the lead, when we started Brown Coast Redemption, I never saw myself as a leader. I'm just the guy that wanted to make a movie
Mm-hmm.
and had to come to grips over the course of time that ultimately, hundreds of people are looking at me waiting for me to tell them what to do. So how do you do that when you're like 14?
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
When a whole convention is looking to you to be the person to get the information out.
Right.
So I try to spend a lot of time on each character, the main characters that is, on what it is that kind of makes them tick a little bit.
Sure.
But then as a creative, once you start writing, as much as you can control that person on paper, the story starts forcing them to go in different directions. Or you'll start writing and next thing you know, you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming and I wrote it. So sometimes characters have the ability to take a life of their own as much as you try to narrate them.
Sure. Sure. I know you were mentioning Goonies, right, for the kids.
Best movie ever.
Yeah, Whisker could probably recite it.
I was like their age when that movie came out.
Yeah.
So it's like the most epic movie ever.
Right.
For people
Yeah.
my exact
I've only
age,
ever
yeah.
seen it once. Can you believe it?
Oh, there's something wrong.
I know. I'm culturally inept. Okay. But, so Goonies and Shaun of the Dead, right?
Yep.
Are you getting any inspirations from... And then you also mentioned those two, the comic books, I guess, but I don't know if you've actually read those.
No, I'm intentionally staying as far away from those as I possibly could,
Okay, sure. So you don't, like, take their ideas necessarily or whatever.
or have what they did influence what I'm trying to do. I mean, there's going to
Right.
probably be some overlap a little bit. Like we're all going to include a Star Trek zombie in there somehow, but I think there's enough flexibility to do that.
Right. So, are there any other
And
inspirations?
it's not like zombie movies don't steal from each other. I mean, that's part of the
Exactly.
fun. It's camp.
Well, yeah. Although,
Exactly.
I think to this date, I think there's only been one movie that we've seen that shows the world from the zombies' perspective. They just want to be understood.
Which one?
It was a really crappy movie. I wish I remembered what
I
it
don't
was,
remember
but
the name of it now.
it was like the drunk guy was the only one who understood the zombies because he was thinking slowly enough. Do you remember that? And it was like, I don't know, it was like they got infected at a bowling alley because of, I don't know,
Somebody will have watched
some
it.
drink
They'll send
I
us the
know
name.
it was like a frosty plus like radioactive material that caused them to become zombies.
Well, there's actually a really good movie that Billy Connolly's in called Fido.
Okay.
It's a zombie movie set in the fictional 1950s where they figured out how to, with a kind of dog collar, shock collar thing,
Mm-hmm.
make zombies basically docile enough that they're now doing day-to-day labor. And Billy Connolly's zombie actually kind of has his own. He's been able to keep his own thought process.
Uh-huh.
It's a really cute movie. If you get a chance to check it out, check it out.
Now, are the four
It's on Netflix,
podcasters?
too,
Is
so,
it? We'll have to
yeah.
check it out. Do the four podcasters? Are they going to end up getting their own little pet zombie?
No.
So these are completely bad zombies.
No, this is really just, people that are infected that are just trying to survive. Like, I mean, if you flip it from the zombies' perspective, they're just agitated and they're hungry and they want to keep moving on.
Right.
And from the kids, they're just really scared as shit
Right.
because these grown adults are now trying to attack and kill each other.
Right. So then, are they fast or slow zombies?
So I'm actually working it out. So that's a really good question. There's going to be like multiple different types of zombies just to kind of acknowledge. The way I look at it is that the reason zombies are eating is because they're trying to keep their protein intake up.
Mm-hmm.
Because their adrenal glands are kicking and everything's kind of firing at all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to keep basically eating to survive, to kind of keep that metabolism going.
Right.
But the longer you go without being able to eat, or let's say you're kind of like me, a slightly larger guy who can't run fast, that metabolism is going to start breaking down. So you're inevitably going to have, really fast zombies. And I'm not talking like zombies make you inhumanly fast. If you are a fast guy to begin with, you're going to be fast.
Okay.
If you're going to be a chunky guy like me, you're not going to become Carl Lewis
Okay.
and just like run. But it's going to be the recently turned or fast. The people that have taken a while are kind of slower. The people that are first turned are now, your kind of walker crawler type zombies. And then zombies that have taken a lot of damage from either getting trampled on or trampling on each other are now going to be your creepy crawly kind of real move slow zombies.
Okay.
And you're obviously probably gonna have to break some laws of physics with the booth babe zombies, because all they had for food this week was one piece of salad or something, and obviously they would have just melted under the effects of the zombie infection.
Gross.
But you can't do that in a movie. You gotta bend reality a
No,
little bit just for fun.
no. This is even better. Better.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery. You had a booth babe who had so much plastic surgery that her flesh doesn't disintegrate because it's all plastic.
Nice. Or just the non-plastic pieces disintegrate. So you have these perfect set of boobs on a decaying zombie.
Too many ideas. Okay. So, so I thought one of the cool thing about your last film was that you guys actually managed to get a number of actors from the original series to do cameos. Are you guys going to be getting any more cameos this time?
Now, are they cameos or are they role reprisals there? They actually sitting into their own roles that they had in the official show?
So in Redemption, it was a kind of 50-50. We had Adam Baldwin come back, and he, for whatever reason, didn't want to do Jane again, but he was willing to do something else. So he came on screen, and he kind of like gave a 30-second wink and nod to Jane at the end of his cameo. But Michael Fairman, who played Niska in Browncoat's Redemption, came back as Niska. So we're looking to do the same thing kind of here in ZCon.
Cool.
So we've already got Scott Sigler and T. Morris, two of the kind of godfathers of audiobooks,
Okay.
who are going to do cameos as themselves.
Cool.
Then looking to go out to get some of the horror icons that are out there to, maybe even get Edgar Wright to come in and do a cameo as a zombie, because we know that he and Sean Pegg have done it before in one of the Romero movies.
Very cool. Very cool.
And that crowd is usually pretty good about doing, this kind of thing. So it might be fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you were working with them, being that they've done Hollywood and all that good stuff, was it more or less how you expected it would be working with them, or better or worse?
It was surreal because I expected, because they've done this before and we're just nobodies that are coming in. They're like, all right, kid, we're going to sit down and tell you what to do.
Right.
And no, they were, Adam Baldwin was like, tell me what you want. Like, let's sit down and do this. And Michael Fairman's like, let's go over. And he wanted our lead actress there because his scene required them. They're talking over an internet system, like communication.
Mm-hmm.
So on camera or in the movie, they're not in the same room, but he wanted her in the same room to read off of.
Right.
So our lead actress got to sit in a room and do lines, and it was so cool.
Very cool.
Some of the nicest people in the world, and I think they've probably ruined the experience for everybody else that's going to come in with like some arrogance in the next one.
Right. Right. Well, and I hope they don't come in with some arrogance. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's an actor.
Exactly. And you never know what's going to happen. But I got to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it was nothing but positives,
awesome
stuff with these guys.
Awesome. And then I know that in the last one, you also held a lot of auditions for the different characters and all that. Although you did have some friends play, I guess, the extras. But for the zombies, are you going to be holding auditions for them?
So what we're doing is anybody that's backed the Kickstarter campaign, they're going to get first invite to be an extra in the movie.
Cool.
Then what's going to happen is it's going to go down to the social media outlets. So if you followed us on Facebook and Twitter, you're going to get the next round of invites. Then we're just going to do open to the public. If you want to show up and you have time, you can come in. I mean, this isn't going to be we want everybody, and I want this convention to look like a normal convention. I hate when Hollywood tries to do something that's set in the real world and they put like Gap jean models in. I want this convention floor to be like, I could have gone to this convention at any time.
Right.
Until all hell breaks loose.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it'll be anybody and their brother. And that's the same thing with when we did casting for Redemption. We did open casting. So I just want the best possible person for the role. So I don't care if you're Will Wheaton or not. If you come in and you are the best person and you want to try out, we're going to have you.
Yeah.
Like, I am not stuck on it has to be somebody with a lot of experience, because sometimes somebody with a lot more passion can do a hell of a lot more than somebody with a hell of a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And I mean, that would be how I would do it.
But Will, don't think that you're not welcome. You probably are.
Will, we love you, Will Wheaton. And I would love to see a Will Wheaton zombie run around.
That would be
just to have somebody running down the hall like, Wheaton! And then getting taken out.
Trying to get an autograph or something.
Exactly.
Help
or better
my
yet,
baby.
making a Star Trek reference and then he eats them.
Ooh.
Shut up, Wesley.
Nom.
So now each zombie movie has their own rules of death, right? So for some, it's the first person who goes off from the main group because they have to pee, right? Just ridiculous. Or for some, it's the first two people who go and have sex in a random storeroom, right? They are always the ones to die off first. Do you have any rules set for the zombie deaths?
I have a firm rule set that if you get in within arm's reach of a zombie, regardless of what you're doing, you're going to die.
Really?
Yeah, like if I can reach out and grab you, I'm going to kill you. It's kind of the mindset of the zombie. So, the dumbass MMA fighter who thinks he's going to be an all big jock and go face one-on-one with a zombie, he's dead.
He's dead.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of chances to run off and like the two teenagers that go have sex, but I will kind of acknowledge the zombie land don't go into the bathroom rule.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really good rule. I'm going to steal that one.
Okay, sounds good. And we had an interesting conversation last week with our last guest, who is a medical student, and we asked him what the feasibility of a zombie getting into a brain was, because your skull's pretty protective and all that good stuff, right? So my question is, are your zombies going to be more brain oriented or like guts oriented, or just like anything oriented?
As far as what they prefer to eat?
Correct.
Anything goes. I think it's kind of, they're really looking for protein any way they can get it.
Interesting.
And if you go back and look at some of the early zombie movies like Romero, they weren't necessarily worried about the brains. They just wanted to eat you.
So where did brains come from?
I think it was like late in 80s that they started focusing on brains.
Well, that's very interesting. I always thought it was brains, but I guess not.
I'm sure there's an
maybe the
entire
guts came
timeline
first.
that someone has put together on all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We should find out.
Someone with more free time than I.
I'm trying to think. And speaking of zombie news, did you hear about that guy who, I guess, was it impaled himself? No, not impaled. Cut himself open and threw his intestines at a cop?
What?
Come on, zombie man!
This is okay. I like the fictional zombie stuff. And by the way, I would like to point out it was Return of the Living Dead and Zombie 2 that brought up the concept of eating brains.
I see.
But,
okay. You didn't hear about this either?
No, I didn't hear. I did hear about the guy that like completely stripped down and charged a cop.
Oh no,
because he was on bath salts.
Yeah, no, not. Well, no, not the bath salt dude. But
no, this is a different bath salt dude.
Oh my goodness, bath salts for everybody. I see. Well, Whisker, you can tell the whole story. This is a good one.
It was actually like within a couple of days of the Miami thing, so it made it even better. He barricaded himself inside his house because he was going to off himself. And somebody called the cops. They showed up, and he wouldn't open the door, and he threatened to hurt himself, so they bust in. And he says, okay, stabs himself in the stomach, cuts it open, rips his intestines out, cuts them off, and throws them at the cops. It's like, wow.
What was he on, Beth? Well,
I have no idea.
We don't know, but
that's just a lot of pain.
yeah.
I don't know why anybody would do that. That's just no.
I mean, the intestines are inevitably attached to you, so it's not like they go very far.
You know, it may relate to the brains thing. You've got enough neurons in your intestines to equal the amount of neurons in the brain of a cat.
True.
So, you know, maybe he wanted brains and he just couldn't get through the skull casing.
Awkward.
Wow.
Awkward.
Nom, 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 nom.
More ideas. Throwing intestines at the kids. What? Those kids would be like, I'm backing up off this.
That would be like a great 3D zombie movie where the zombies are like, wow, and then you have the big, slow-mo of the intestines coming out at you.
Oh man, this is epic. This is
So
gonna be
now,
epic.
do you do the director of photography role too, or do you have somebody running the camera who's done that a lot?
We're gonna get really lucky, providing his schedule is available. Is this guy named Pal Beal? He's worked on camera crew for James Cameron. Like he did one of the
Wow.
guys holding the red camera when they did the motion capture.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And there's a shot in Browncoat's Redemption that's a nod to the opening of Serenity. So it's a 360-degree one take shot, and he came in and did that for us. So if his schedule is available, I want him to be lead camera operator, and we're going to have DP. And my job is really to make sure what's coming through on the screen is telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because while I'm kind of proficient at using a camera, I'm proficient at doing what I need to do. There's so much going on as a director's job. Focusing on that one thing the whole time will just make the movie suffer.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who deals with video all the time, I really get that it's kind of it would be very handy to be able to have one person thinking about the blocking of the shots and all that sort of thing, and having another person thinking about how to actually physically execute that. By dividing that labor between two people, you can work so much more efficiently.
Oh yeah. I agree.
So I'm trying I am boggled by the enormity of this task.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely an impossible job. I have no idea why he'd choose to do this on purpose, but I appreciate that he has.
Why, thank you, he says, hearing himself talked in third person.
So, I think one of the cool things amongst many about this project, as with your last project, is that 100% of the proceeds, or the extra proceeds, are going to go to charities. So last one, I think you guys did it to 5 different charities. What is ZCon going to potentially go to?
So, ZCon is going to go to Kids Need to Read, which is a charity in Arizona that puts sci-fi books in underprivileged schools.
Cool.
They were one of our charities last time, and they were the biggest supporter of what we do. And that's kind of what we're looking for, is like, we're not just going to be giving them money, but we're going to give them over the course of 2 years a ton of promotion. And we kind of would hope in return that they get to do a little bit of at least public acknowledgement of what we're doing for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So next charity is the Red Cross, because, well, it's a zombie movie. So part of what Big Damn Films does is we try to find charities and nonprofits that are a little bit associated with what either the film is doing or what we're trying to work on that year.
Right.
Being that it's a zombie movie and it's kids with podcasts, sci-fi books, and Red Cross perfectly. But we're doing something a little bit different this year, is that at our website, zconmovie.com, we have a charity mission that's going on where if you have a nonprofit organization that you're working with, you could go there, submit your charity, and get it voted up. And by the end of, we were trying to do June, but I think we're going to extend it to the end of July, given Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
The charity that gets the most votes by that date will become our third charity. So the community completely picks the third one.
Gotcha. Now, do you ever notice, or do you ever come across hesitation from these organizations because of the topics? Like zombies, for instance. I mean, not everybody knows what zombies are, strangely enough, in this day and age. But, they may be like, whoa.
We've been really, really lucky. I mean, the Red Cross goes to they're at a lot of conventions doing blood drives. So they kind of are familiar with what's going on. Kids Need to Read as a whole, they know what we're doing, and we know they're not we're not going to put anything in the movie that's either going to make them look bad or take away from their mission, because this is a partnership. I mean, whether it's a sponsor or a charity we're supporting, we're not going to intentionally do anything that's going to hurt them, because ultimately it'll just hurt us as well.
Sure.
But we did have one charity that we approached that I'm not going to say the name of, but they were just like, look, unless you can guarantee us $250,000 in your first year, we're not even going to let you use our logo.
Wow.
And
really?
I'm like, yeah.
A charity?
A charity.
Why would a charity, like, I mean, I would think any amount of money that they were donated, they'd be happy with.
Oh, I agree. And I mean, most of the nonprofits that we've been working with, I mean, the last one, we worked with Equality Now and Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, Al Wooten Junior Heritage Center, Dyslexia Foundation, and Kids Need to Read. So those are charities going from like your grassroots just started, like KNTR was, all the way up to like global ones like Equality Now. And they were going, hey, here you go. But
yeah.
Since we've had a little bit of success and people can see that we know what we're doing and we're willing to bring money in, I think some people are looking at that going, well, you're doing that and you're making a movie, so we want you to have a little bit higher of an expectation.
Huh. So, oh, no, you're too poor to donate.
Yeah. I was like,
what?
I was like, you're asking me to give you exactly what I'm trying to get from Kickstarter. So no.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we decided to open it to the public. I'm like,
yeah, absolutely.
The community knows what they want to support more than we do.
Absolutely. And to whichever charity, really bad. Come on, people. Get it up. So, as a writer, producer, director, in the inevitable real zombie apocalypse, what do you think your role is going to be?
I think my role is going to be to coordinate people to not go to malls and to coordinate people to be a little bit more intelligent. On top of that, I will just be running and hiding.
I see. So you wouldn't take the blogger's role or like the podcaster's role?
I'm not
doing
quite
news.
Sure. I may, but it really depends. Like I'm a big fan of, I would much rather survive, and if surviving means not having to share that much information, I'm not as nice and humble as the kids that I write about in my movie are, because I'm like, I might tweet, haha, day 37, I'm alive and you're not. But my kids are in the movie and they're like, oh, look, over here we have this guy that survived. Here's his name in case his family's wondering. I don't know if I'm that nice.
Yeah. I think Addie and I are that nice up until it actually happens, because we've sort of done the pay in advance thing. We're getting all the information out there to people. Work very hard to do that before the zombies attack, because I don't want to have to feel bad when I shoot you for coming to my door trying to steal my food.
Because then you get the perfect haha, I told you so.
Right.
Nice. I like that plan.
Now, the interesting thing about podcasting is that I think it will become the news outlet for the zombie apocalypse in general. If ever, and I mean, you see it now, even in like different disasters, like you were mentioning earlier with the tsunami and all that.
Yep.
Like we heard about it first on Twitter, and like earthquakes first on Twitter, not.
Yeah, Twitter runs much faster than traditional news.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, it's kind of funny you guys mentioned that. It's like, I think one of the big things that triggered the idea for me for keeping it in a convention is, do you guys hear, I think it was like last year or the year before, I think it was last year, the guy that stabbed the other guy in the face at Comic-Con?
Oh my gosh. Now this one I didn't hear about.
Okay, so what happened was they have Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, which is the big hall where you literally wait 3 hours to get in and you never leave.
Okay.
Because that's where Joss Whedon will announce like Avengers, and that's the big marquee hall.
Okay.
So what happened was there's two fanboys sitting next to each other. One either was like getting a little too uppity and close, or the other one had just been there sitting too long, and they had a scuffle. And then one just stabbed the other in the face with a pencil. Now, hold on. It wasn't like stabbed in the face like we're picturing in a horror movie stab. It was kind of just like, I'm holding a pencil and I poke you.
Yeah.
But because because social media blew it up a hell of a lot larger than it needed to be. Like I was in line, I was the 10th person in line outside of the hall to come in. So I was trying to get in to see the Avengers type of thing.
Right.
Um, so we're in line and security shuts down and they're not letting anybody in Hall H and we can't figure out what's going on and they're just like, "Wait, something's going on and we can't share." Next thing you know, like Twitter blows up talking about it, like, "Oh my God, just saw another dude stab another dude in the face." And there's tons of open seats and people inside are telling the people outside what's going on. So we're going up to the people at security going, "Look, we know there's open seats. They've already escorted the guy out. Let us in."
Right.
But that kind of a thing was just, I think we're at the point now where either modern news has got to keep up, or like you said, with radio, they're going to become irrelevant
Mm-hmm.
because you guys can do something now a hell of a lot faster than it would take like a local radio station to do.
Right. So wait a minute. That stabbing was like if I poked Whisker, if I just poked him in the arm or something like that.
I think he maybe broke a little skin. He didn't like
Oh.
jab it into his face.
Like it wasn't like a pencil sticking out of an eyeball, like moving around while the guy's eye was moving, right?
Well, honestly, that's what we're all picturing on the outside. Because
Right.
I gave you as much information initially as we were giving,
Right.
but as it went on and things kind of came out, it came out to like as if you went over to Whisker with a pen and you just like marked him in the face and it caused a little bit of blood.
Oh.
But the sensationalism of I just stabbed another guy in the face. So then you saw the next day of I went to Comic-Con and all I got was stabbed in the face with a pencil t-shirts walking around the next day.
Already.
I don't know how comfortable I am with this subject, given that you're using me as a hypothetical pincushion while she's playing with her Leatherman over there.
That's a good point. I am kind of brandishing.
Just put it down. Put it down.
Okay. I'm putting it down. Down.
Now, while we do embrace the absolute leading edge of technology to get everything out to everyone globally here on ZombieTech, we also do have old school equipment in the house too, just in case we ever need to switch over to something like becoming a broadcast radio station. We have everything here to do that. Eddie has a ham rig that's very easily modifiable to broadcast on any frequency in any mode. So we can become a 200-watt radio station very easily here if we need to.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, I know the people I'm going to if all hell breaks loose.
Good. Excellent. And then we'll have to get you to help direct the TV shows, I suppose.
All right. So there's a couple of questions we always ask every
Right.
Zombie
Now
Tech
we're going to
guest.
ask the real Zombie Tech podcast
Yes.
questions, right? So first question, what 3 tools would you bring to a zombie apocalypse bunker?
Water purifier,
Okay.
a weapon of some sort ranging from a baseball bat to a machete,
Okay.
and what's the qualifier? Could it be anything or is it just a
Anything.
tool?
Eddie's really not allowed to answer this
Sorry.
question anymore because she's very lenient.
I'm extremely lenient.
So we'll let
Okay.
you be your own judge of what, something you can carry.
But note, I'm extremely lenient.
A probably year supply of dry matchsticks.
Really?
Yeah.
Dry matchsticks. That's actually not bad. A year's
Pretty good
supply.
one.
That is a good one.
Fire
Oh,
good.
do we have a fire source? I mean, we must. We have electronics all over the
I
place.
can make fire if I need to.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually
I
my
figured-
job involves not making any.
Yeah.
None of this equipment should catch on fire at any time.
Right.
But
But we can make it.
I know how. Yeah.
Okay. So crap. I forgot the first one.
So
already.
the water purifier,
water purifier, bat
uh,
or machete.
a large blunt or sharp weapon,
Right.
and then a year's supply of dry matchsticks.
Okay. Let me go as far as to say you could totally strap the baseball bat and the machete together. And
See, there's the lenience, isn't it?
maybe, but
Yeah,
but
it's
this
gonna
isn't
come
as
in
lenient as
there.
I get.
Yeah. We once had a chef attaching rolls of duct tape to her shotgun, so I had to sort of put a little bit of a strict rule there.
And we do have a couple.
She was
of,
obviously a Midwesterner, that one.
yeah. And we have a couple of doctors who are bringing MRI machines strapped on their backs. So, it's It doesn't have to be capable of fitting in a pocket. There.
So this seems like a pretty sensible choice. You've got your simple, tool / weapon, and a way to get clean water.
Do you think?
And a way to get fire.
I have a random question. Everybody says a water purifier, right?
It's one of the most important things.
Right.
I mean, you got 3 days and you're dead.
So okay, but let me ask, you think Coke would completely go bust?
You'd go dehydrated if you focused on just drinking soda.
Yeah.
Because your body mostly treats it as a solid.
Can you purify water from Coke?
The fact of the matter is when you drink that Coke, it goes down to your lower intestines, not out through, your liquid. So yeah.
It gives you kidney stones.
It would take too long.
I see. Interesting. Okay, random question. Sorry, that just came. Yeah. Okay. The second ZombieTech question.
Go ahead.
What book would you bring?
Intestines come up a lot in this show. I don't know why.
I don't ask. I don't ask. So, what book would you bring to a zombie apocalypse bunker?
That's a hard one because I'm wondering what type of book I would like. I'm thinking as I'm packing. So I would look at the. I went to the military, so I've got that whole little handbook they give you of how to do everything you could possibly need.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I may bring that, or I may bring probably the complete works of Sherlock Holmes or Edgar Allan Poe, which is something that you could just read multiple stories of forever.
Sure. Cool. That sounds good. And I mean, if you come to our bunker, we have tons of books so far.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be.
It's always interesting to see what kind of choice people make on that, because it's one of 3 camps. You've got the people who are interested in rebuilding society. Afterwards, you've got the people who are interested in being entertained while everything goes to hell, and you've got the people who want some immediate survival information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would fall into your 4th category of I just want to wait to see what the hell happens.
Sure.
Time killer.
Pretty much. Because zombies got to die.
Yeah.
They'll run out of juice eventually.
They're going to have to. Are you going to have any zombies die in your movie?
Hell yes.
Not by blunt force trauma, but by say our lovely who is it? Those models? Who are you talking about? The
booth babes.
Booth babes. Yeah, the booth babes with the
tries to chase
silicone
somebody and she's
silicone
just
implants.
I need a nap. I think it would be a pretty boring scene, but yeah.
That would be great. Okay.
We had an author on here, Mira Grant. She wrote a bunch of zombie.
All right, you
books.
have to read. You have to read
after you're
them.
done with your movie, though, because they're related. She has bloggers running around in the zombie apocalypse. But
right.
One of the personal comments she made was that she doesn't understand how any of these skinny chicks she sees running around are going to survive. She's like, 3 days and they're all dead. That's great.
Well, I think we're definitely. I know there's at least 2 shots of zombies that are just, either the booth babe that hasn't been able to eat more than a cracker, or
an anorexic zombie. Can you imagine?
Yes, or the completely overweight cannot figure out how to run for his life.
Just gives up and eats himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact that one of those 2 will be appearing in the script already.
Game on. I like it.
All right, Michael, where can people find information on how they can get involved in this?
So you could go right to our website, which is zconmovie.com. You can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/zconmovie.
Yep.
You can follow us on Twitter, which is twitter.com/zconmovie. Do you see a theme?
Yeah. And of course, Addie and I will put links to all of this stuff in the show description on the webpage. You guys can find this show every week at ZombieTech TV. That is on weeks when the recording studio doesn't catch on fire and we have to replace things like 2 weeks ago. That sucked.
It really did.
You can get up to the minute, like we've been talking about for a lot of the show, up to the minute news on what's going on here in the studio at tymkrs on Twitter, and of course our website, where we link to all of our shows, tymkrs.com. That's all for this week, and we'll see you guys next Thursday.
Ciao.
Bye.